Our next speaker is Nasreen Hussain. She's the daughter of Azan Jaffrey, who is a member of parliament who was brutally killed and burnt alive. Nasreen.
First of all, I want to just say thank you to Bhagat sir to be here today. He's always walked with me, and Kaleem Saab, Ravi, thank you for being here. You have walked with me since 2002. And especially when you wear this jacket, it reminds me of my father. I don't know how to begin this, but I have been telling my tale about what happened in Gujarat since the day my father died. Tista has given you the entire story about that day, that day of February 28, 2002. Just to let you know, I have been in this country since 1989. My boy, 20-year-old boy, is sitting in this audience today. And in 1969, I was in a refugee camp. I tell my kids not to waste food because I know the value of food when you are standing in a refugee camp, standing with an empty bowl in a long line waiting for some rice. And when in 2002 I went back to India, after my father was murdered, I saw hundreds of girls in refugee camps running around, playing, waiting with the bowls. They had no idea what had happened to them. Even I did not know the detail and the gruesome things that have happened in Gujarat, the entire Gujarat, until I went for 3 months walking from village to village. But most recently in November 2007, and I'll give you this one detail, people had said that in 2002, that Jaffrey's daughter was actually raped in front of him, and then he had given up and he went outside and he was murdered. Actually, there was my neighbor who was actually raped in front of him. He tried to save everybody in his house. He was trying to pull them back inside. And then at about 2 o'clock in daytime in Ahmedabad, about 10 miles is Gandhi Ashram, 2 miles is Civil Hospital, 1 mile is the fire brigade, that he went outside and he gave himself up. He took cash for them. This is a 1,000, 2,000 strong mob with swords and trishuls that was standing there, and he gave up. He begged them to leave, but what did they do? They I think exactly if you read in the Helka magazine, it has been described. They took him in, they cut him piece by piece. This is 2002. I am born in India, free India, the democratic India. And slowly dismembered him. They put him on fire and burned him alive. Talk about Bilqis. 7 men together raped her, killed her daughter in front of her. You talk about Zahira. Her uncle was put in the bakery in front of her. You talk about Sohail. He saw his 2 sisters getting raped and then killed. His mother. You talk about Azhar. His mother is still looking for him in same complex. I'm talking only about the people that are near my place, near my complex, which is right now basically a ghost place. Okay? We have been saying these stories. We have been telling this has happened in 2002. These are the gruesome details. My father called 200 calls. There is a record of these calls. Who he called? He called the chief minister. He called the police officers. Everyone. Tista knows about it. She has done the details. She's standing so tall in these things. Today, after 6 years, nothing has happened. My mother is still at home. She can hardly walk. Otherwise, I would have brought her here in front of you. You can see for yourself how she stayed in that day, in that house, the burning house, which burned for 3 days. This is what Tista has just told you. The worst part about this whole thing is that I was raised in this place where my father was murdered. The entire community was silent. Why? Why is the entire community, the Indian community here is silent? Why is there only few people that are out there and talking about these things? Why isn't justice given to us? Where is the democracy? Why isn't democracy working for us? These are the questions that I have for all the people in Washington and in India, in the government, in the state government. Why isn't Chief Minister coming out and accepting what crimes he has done?
So I just plead that you help us in whatever way is possible to raise these issues again, make it into an international campaign again, make it into a support campaign for survivors again, because they need all and we need. Otherwise, it's a very, very lonely battle to be fight.
Just 2 points, sir. From the highest levels, I was given so many illegal audits. All these audits I have written in a register, very, very formally maintained. with the signature of senior officer of my department, and this is also submitted to the commissions and higher body, judicial body. They can inquire into it.
What are the Indian Muslims in India doing right now to defend themselves from government terrorism, state-supported massacres, and communal violence?
We believe that the democratic path and the rule of law path and the justice path needs to be strengthened so that the faith of the Muslim and the minority or the poor or the Adivasi or the Dalit gets reaffirmed in the constitution and the rule of law. And we believe that for the first time, I know the frustration that Nishan must be feeling every day of her life till justice is done. But compared to earlier, I repeat, compared to earlier, the Best Bakery judgment and the Bilkis judgment gave a ray of hope to the minorities for the first time. So we must keep it in perspective. So the Muslims of India are looking at it as a rule of law battle, as a democratic battle.
Well, I would like to really pay my homage to your dad. And after meeting you, I feel greatly strengthened. You are the kind of persons we need, you and your brother. I had great desire to see you, and I'm very pleased to meet you. And the kind of personality you have developed is amazing. I'm very hopeful about the future of India with people like you and your brother. And I'm so much touched by your presentation, and I'm aware of the kind of work you are doing because I've also been working in Gujarat.
But I wanted to say this in response that my father, after 1969, our house was burned, and my father had to live in a refugee camp. I know some of the people who are here from Gujarat remember Malek Shravan camp where we lived in 69 for a couple of months, and after that he refused to leave his house. We were born in free India. He refused to leave his house. He came back to the same place, which is now called Gulberg Society. He rebuilt his place, and since 1969 he has been working. He was a lawyer by profession. He then became a member of parliament in 1977, and he had been working with the community in Gujarat. He was actually trying to bridge the divide that was in the community there. All these years, you're talking about 2002 now, the globalization, the technology has moved. We don't have all those papers, how many people were killed in what has happened. But since then he had been working. But now the divide is so bad. Like as Tista said to you about, and somebody asked here a question about ISI and mini Pakistan. What has happened in Ahmedabad? And I'll tell you, I spoke to somebody earlier in the day that I came to this country in 1989 and I wanted to buy a property. I went and I looked at the house, I looked at the kitchen and I looked at the steps and I said, this is the perfect house. I wasn't worried about who was living next to me, where the area is. I bought my property and I'm living safely with my 2 kids. Even after 9/11, as a Muslim, I'm living here very safely. Back at home, you cannot buy a property in Ahmedabad. We are ghettoized. I am looking for a property. My mother wants to buy a house in Ahmedabad. That's her city, that's her hometown. She married and came from Madhya Pradesh. This is her sasural. This is where she wants to live. We are looking for a place, but where are we looking for a place for her? So that when she, in her last days, she said, I would like to be buried by your father, wherever you have put his ashes, in the Kabristan. Where am I buying a place for her? I am buying a place in Juhapura, which now, in the Gujarati community, in my Gujarat, they are calling it a mini Pakistan. I and my brother, he's sitting right next to you, 6 years before, we did not turn into terrorists. We did not plan a bomb, or we did not go out taking a sword or kill people, or we didn't accuse or abuse people. We know what is going on. This conspiracy has been going for a long time, and we are with Tista and the judiciary system. We have the hope. Our democracy, my mother has the hope. She'll be sitting here, she'll tell you in Hindi, there are 4,000 people and 400 raped girls who will stand behind me and tell you they have the hope. India will give the justice to them. We are living in a democracy. We have to give it. This is the global world. We will, and that's what we need your support for. That's why Tista is here to bring the awareness. We will fight. We will get the justice. I'm talking as an Indian, a true Indian and a democratic Indian.